agnostic sex podcasters, hot rabbis, highly opinionated families, and the Matzah Ballers? That's right. We are watching the 2024 rom-com series Nobody Wants This with Kristen Bell and Adam Brody.
Welcome to the Rom-com Rescue Podcast, a brand new podcast where we bring the love and life lessons from your favorite rom-coms. I'm Kira Sabin. I'm a healthy dating educator, a certified coach, and a positive psychology practitioner. But more importantly, I spend my days teaching the skills and mindsets of dating.
And I'm Dr. Isabelle Morley. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and an EFT certified couples therapist, and I help couples have the happiest, healthiest relationship possible. Join us weekly as we break down the best love lessons from your favorite rom-coms so we can all get into the best relationships possible, because we believe that we create our own happily ever afters.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Rom-com Rescue. I'm Kira.
And I'm Izzy.
And we are here to discuss 2024 Nobody Wants This with Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. We are so excited. This is pretty new in the last week or so. Everybody seems to be watching it. Everybody is talking about it. We can't wait to break down our thoughts. We thought there was a lot of great things in this series, so we're not going to break any hearts here. But hey, Izzy, I'm so glad you're here. What questions do you have for me this week as we continue to get to know each other?
As I watch this, my first important question for you is, have you ever tried gefilte fish?
I have not.
What? Really?
I have
Even
not.
At the camp? Because I know that you worked at a Jewish
camp.
Yes,
I was just telling Izzy before this that in my late 20s, I actually worked at a Jewish camp in upstate New York in the Adirondacks. I really enjoyed it. Racket Lake, if anybody has ever heard of it. I have a lot of Jewish friends, but I learned a ton about the Jewish religion, and we did Shabbat every Friday. But I have not. I have had lutefisk, which is a Norwegian or Scandinavian. That's big in Wisconsin, has a lot of Scandinavian roots. So that kind of exists, but not gefilte fish.
Okay. It's not too
late.
And
I'm not that.
It's not too late, Kira.
I'm not so psyched by that kind of fishiness.
Squishy fish?
Yeah, like it's not calling me.
It's not. No?
It's not calling me whatsoever.
Even if I say it's a squishy fish ball, that doesn't make you feel more
compelled?
It's
not squishy. I think the word squishy is
not working for you.
It's not working for me. I don't know, besides marshmallow, what other foods I want to be squishy. But not my fish, that's for sure.
It wasn't my favorite thing to try when I was dating my high school boyfriend, who actually, fun fact, in my book that I'm finishing up right now, I referenced him and I called him Noah in it, not his real name, to protect his privacy. And so watching this, I was like, hey, Noah, that's right.
That's awesome. Has religion ever been an issue in a relationship for you?
Surprisingly, no, because I have dated almost exclusively Jewish men up until finding and marrying Lucas, and it was never a problem. It was discussed that I wasn't Jewish, and I was called a shiksa and all of that, but it wasn't a barrier for their families or for them. What about for you?
Not really. Since my 20s, religion has not been too much of a part of my life. So I grew up Methodist, WASPy. If I would have met somebody who was very into the religion, that would have been interesting, and we'd have to talk about values and different things like that. But knowing that it was such a big deal in my parents' generation for even Catholics and Protestants to marry, we don't really discuss how that was not that long ago in the 50s and 60s. You were not supposed to marry,
outside of your specific
outside of your religion.
group.
I just feel like right now in our generation, it's not much of a conversation because just organized religion isn't that big of a conversation anymore among a lot of people that I at least know and talk to and things like that. Not in a way that I saw when I was younger.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a thing, but I do know it's been a thing for some of my friends. I do know clients who are deep in their faith, and it's a value and a deal breaker for them. And it should be, because if it's something that's really important to you, as it is for Noah in this, then that should be a part of your deal breakers or your values that you are actively looking for which Noah did not do, which we will get into in just a few minutes. But I think we should preface all of this with my love for Kristen Bell and Adam Brody knows no bounds. When I found out, first of all, that Adam Brody was part of this, I was like, fuck yes. I love Adam Brody. I am a Seth Cohen fan.
He's the best.
Through and through for 20 years, right? From the OC. I have been bummed that he hasn't been on more.
I know.
You know, I've actually been bummed that he hasn't been doing a ton in the last 10, 15 years. So I was super excited that he was part of this. I'm also a huge Veronica Mars fan, and I love Kristen Bell. So this is like a marrying of 2004 to me, right?
Yes.
Of just like the
yes.
best of the best. And I think you
Coming
and I, as
together.
we move into what our first impressions were, the chemistry was fucking
So
phenomenal.
real.
So
Oh my
good,
God.
so real. When that first kiss happened, I feel like women sighed across the world, right?
And all the flirting, the chemistry during all
Oh.
the flirting was so palpable and
The witty
real. It was so
banter.
good.
I
It was so
loved the witty
good.
banter. Just that little sharpness back and forth between each other. It's the biggest
They're
turn
quick.
on. I know.
Yeah.
They're quick, and it's just one of the biggest turn-ons. I don't know if you've seen this because I spend a lot more time online and social media than you do, but the world is fallen back in love with Adam Brody.
I
It
read like
is-
5 articles at 5 a.m. this morning about it, how he is what everyone is looking for in a heartthrob right now. There's something so charming about his like, nerdy confidence or something. Like he's just unassuming, even though he's got obviously great self-esteem and he's so handsome. There's something so appealing about him.
So appealing. Let's just get into it. I loved this so much. I loved it. I loved it. If this is what we are working with in 2024, I could not be fucking happier.
Oh.
Like when I think about the nutso movies we've watched from the early 2000s or 90s, and then we're watching stuff
yeah.
like this and Love at First Sight, and even Always Be My Maybe. Just these
Oh, yeah.
rom-coms that have come out in the last 5 years, they're so much more emotionally intelligent. They're just, I'm
Yes.
in. I am all in.
And honestly, I hate to even bring this up because it's so bad in comparison, but my mind is still blown that people loved Anyone But You when stuff like this exists. There's just no comparison. Anyone But You is so bad in comparison to like the real complex, deep, interesting, sexy story that we saw with this show.
Do you know what's interesting?
Tell me.
Shit that I'm going to make up right now off the top of my head, by the way,
Ooh,
that
yes.
is not backed up by anything. But interestingly, Anyone But You, a lot of the people I saw respond to how good it was men. Like when I was reading
Really?
reviews and were like, I loved this movie. It was so funny. But this show right here, Nobody Wants This, to me, this was written for women. It was created by a woman. The showrunner was a woman. It was directed by a woman. And
Dream guy.
it
For us.
just shows to me. And
Yeah.
that's very interesting to see what people are wanting to watch and talk about. But we should make this into a drinking game where every time we mention Anyone But You on this fucking podcast, that we can just, people like, drink.
Take a shot.
Yeah, nothing like a 10 a.m. shot in the morning. But yeah, that will be our bad rom-com that we compare things to.
Forever,
the end of time.
forevermore. I know. But I agree. This was so good. When you said we should watch it, I was like, yes. Just the cast alone. I hadn't heard that much about it. Seeing their journeys, because they all have really interesting journeys and they gain insight and they make changes and they take responsibility for their bad
Yes.
behavior.
Yes.
But they mostly behave pretty well, I have to say. And I don't know, it was just nice to see someone go from sort of casual messing around with dating, being pretty flip, to finding somebody she wants to be serious about and making that transition. And then how everybody in their life has a strong opinion about it and how even good change can disrupt people. You know, her becoming a better partner was disruptive for her sister. And obviously Noah wanting to be with somebody who's not Jewish was very disruptive for his life. But, I didn't get a chance to watch this 2 times before we're recording, but I'm absolutely going to be watching it again this week.
Are you really? Just for fun?
Yeah, just for fun.
I will definitely rewatch it again. It's too soon. As we know, in about 6 months, I won't remember anything, so I can watch it then. But let's go to some of the love lessons, because I know there are so many good ones, and I want to make sure that we really pick them out. So Erin Foster, I want to reference this really quickly. Some of you guys might know that this is actually based on or inspired by a true story. Not completely. She ended up about 6 or 7 years ago meeting a guy who grew up in a Russian Jewish family. He took it very seriously. He was not a rabbi, but it was also a deal breaker for him to be with somebody who wasn't Jewish. And so she wrote this as a love letter to him, which I think is like the best thing. It makes me want to write a script as a love letter to Danny. And just because he came in and was this strong, stable, consistent guy that Noah was. More of that, please. More of it. Somebody has virtually just created, on some levels, because we have stuff to talk about, the best. People are going to be talking about this character of Noah, the hot rabbi, for a while.
Yeah, he is the model for what we're looking for.
And
100%.
I do have a question for you.
Oh.
Hot rabbi versus hot priest.
Hot priest. Are you asking which I think is hotter? Because he was very hot, but first of all, he's actually off limits. And for me, that's just like a hard stop. I get the allure of it's unavailable and so enticing.
Sure.
It's off limits. I totally get that, but it's Adam Brody. I don't know what to say.
I know. Hot priest. I'm not even Catholic, but when he said kneel, I was like, I have feelings running through my body that I have not felt for a while, and I might need to take care of them right now. And so but they're very different. One of them was completely emotionally unavailable. One of them was completely emotionally available, meaning the hot rabbi was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that actually came up for me. I'm like, ooh, hot priest versus hot rabbi. And I love them both.
Listen, fantasy, hot priest. Reality, hot rabbi.
Done.
Okay.
Yes, I am loving
Perfect.
it. I am loving it. So let's get into some of the things we love to see. And sometimes the things that we love to see, the best love lessons, are just even like, that felt really real. Maybe they didn't even behave correctly in that moment, but that was a real moment, right? Where I feel like real people would do those things and we can learn from it.
Oh,
but
yes, you saying that makes me want to point this one out, because I love to see the work on these shows and movies.
The work.
They do the work, though. And because, like you said, they mess up with each other. They actually work really hard to communicate and to be honest. But especially Joanne, she's in a real growth phase where she has been self-protective in her dating life and inauthentic and all sorts of stuff. And then she meets somebody where she wants to be real. But she looks in the Xbox that she finds hidden there, and she looks to see what's inside, right? She fakes sick to get out of the bar mitzvah because she doesn't want to go. And then she comes clean. And I love that, because no one's perfect in relationships, right? Like sometimes you're just going to give in to your baser instincts and mess up. But if you can own it and acknowledge it and apologize for it, that's okay.
That's
within
real.
Limits, right? But yes, it's real.
I can't say this enough. People are going to mess up. People are going to say the wrong things. And obviously, some things, such as cheating versus saying the wrong thing at breakfast this morning, are very fucking different. However, I really think that it's not what somebody does. It's how they fix it. It's how they repair it. It's what they do after they make a mistake that we want to notice. That is important. And Noah, to me, he was like a masterclass in stable, consistent, and just solid, which is what somebody, and I definitely recognize the younger version of me in Joanne, of just talking myself in and out of a relationship in about 5 seconds flat.
She does bounce around. Yeah.
She does. And I know that I did that. But it also is so interesting to watch her react to things that aren't happening.
Yes. But
And I think that
process.
is so real. And then process it. And then him
Come back
saying,
around.
oh, I just didn't look at my phone because I had this moment. And then she's like, oh, now I feel ridiculous.
Okay.
And that's why we have to regulate her emotions. She's a hot
Fly
mess
off
in
the
the
handle.
beginning. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
She is a hot mess in the beginning. Her
Yeah.
sister's a hot mess. They are basically
Unboundaried, judgmental.
times 1,000 and just pushing each other in and out of these relationships for stories and like sibling rivalry almost. Like if you get this and I don't have it, then that doesn't feel good, right? There's just a lot of
Competition or
There
jealousy or
was.
something. Yeah.
And although I found her sister so entertaining and funny, she was harsh and she was mean
Oh, yeah.
and she was shitty sometimes. Straight
Yeah.
up shitty. And so was
Not
Sasha
supportive.
for that matter, or the brother.
Esther. I think Esther
And-
was way worse. I thought Sasha was fine. He's just like not getting involved. He's there saying a few things, not really taking responsibility for them. He's the loser sibling. He's just
And I can say that, but there's going to be a theme for me about this, about what stuck out that I didn't like. And I'm just going to start going there. And I think you're going to have definitely things to say about it, which is I am still so sick and irritated by how we think that women have to be the one to repair these situations. I have
Let's
my biggest
talk
beef.
about it.
Yes, my biggest beef with this whole entire show is number one, Noah did not set her up for success with his family, with the
Doing.
temple, which
Oh my
I
God.
mean,
What was he
out of
thinking?
control. He did not set her up in any way. He took her to her family.
Threw
She
her to the
didn't even
wolves.
know the prosciutto was pork. I'm sorry, but that seems a little ridiculous. I'm a foodie, but just the same, that was
Wouldn't you be extra cautious? Wouldn't you be
100%. I'd be Googling how to be the perfect Jew for about
Yes.
3 weeks beforehand. And
You
like,
would ask him where to go to get something that his mother would certainly like for the lunch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I am so frustrated that his mother was completely inappropriate, yet Joanne got up to fix
go-
it.
When he was about to get up, I was like, good, because this is your problem to solve. You should be standing in between your family and your partner and taking the brunt of all of this shit. It's actually not up to her to go repair this
Yes,
with your mom.
yes,
This is a you
yes.
problem, sir. And so I know she said, this is between me and Bina. I'll take care of it. And then it was hilarious and worked out in that moment. But I agree. He needed to step up. He knew what he was signing her up for. She did not fully understand what was going to happen to her. At that lunch, when she went to the bar mitzvah, he did. What was he doing, Kira?
Piss poor. It was piss poor behavior. It was not
was.
partnership behavior. That's one of the questions I always ask my clients is what they're doing partnership behavior. Watch for that. Not do you like them, but is it partnership behavior? And that was not partnership behavior. You don't bring somebody that you supposedly really care about to your family with not a ton more of prep. And also boundaries for your parents. Like he should have stood up and go, you know what, Joanne?
We're out of here.
My parents are not obviously ready for this conversation or this meeting, and we're going to go. I am so frustrated that there's like this whole storyline between all the women. So there's
Esther.
Joanne and Esther, and then there's Rebecca, his ex, and then it's her sister. And all of these women are all playing in the background. And I'm like, none of this has anything to do with you.
Yeah.
This is about Noah and his ex that he needs to figure out.
Mhm.
And this is about Noah and his new girlfriend that he needs to figure out. So
Yep.
why did she have to talk to Rebecca? Why didn't he talk to Rebecca? Why did
Yes.
she have to talk to Esther? Why didn't he talk to Esther? This is so ridiculous that we keep making women the people who have to fix the situation, mend the
Make the
situation,
relationship. Mhm.
make the relationship okay when his mother was completely out of line. There's different situations where he should have absolutely, as a new partner, protected her and said, we're out of here. And he just
Yeah.
sat there going, Mom, not now, or something
say
along
that.
those lines.
And was he oblivious? I guess I'm curious, did he not feel the effects of her being openly ostracized and judged? Did he not feel the effects of that? Did he not feel badly watching women reject her or watching people be rude to her? And even at the bat mitzvah, when he's so happy she's there, do you not notice how the whole room is unhappy that she just walked in and how you're not doing anything to defend that? Not really. Did it not matter to him? Because he's otherwise so insightful and attuned.
I agree. So to me, Noah was a great partner for her anxiety, her anxious or disorganized attachment. He was not a good partner when it came to his religion and his family, period. I have to be honest. If I were to walk into a situation now and I met a family and they were that way to me, it would definitely be a big deciding factor in whether or not I continue that relationship. You are putting yourself in a shitty family situation now forever, right? You have kids. Those are the grandparents.
Yeah, I totally agree. And his mom, it's not that she's Jewish, right? Because we see his mom, Bina, be rude to Esther. We see her be controlling, decide the bat mitzvah theme and what her daughter is going to wear and all of this stuff. We see her just be cruel, except once Joanne shows up, Esther seems a lot better and she gets better treatment. But this is not okay to have somebody treat you like this for the rest of your life.
And it just seemed like everybody has just been okay with it.
Yeah, and they tolerated it.
They tolerate it like, oh, this is just the way she is. I'm just over that. And as we get older, it's our job to evolve and grow and become better people. I'm irritated for how amazing Noah's character was and how shitty he was in those situations and with his family. You and I were discussing yesterday that this was about religion. And I'm like, you know what? This actually wasn't about the religion to me. This was about the expectations put on Noah about religion by his family and by the temple.
Yeah.
It's actually nothing to do with her being Jewish or not. It has to do with what they think Noah should be or who he should be as a rabbi and what they are putting on him because of that.
And he might end up paying the price if they do a second season and he has to give up being head rabbi in order to be with her. We'll see. But we don't see him have to give up anything. He brings her to the camp, even though he won't introduce her as his girlfriend. She comes to events and he doesn't have to deal with the awkwardness. Like, he doesn't have to give anything up, apparently. But she has to go through this brutal social beating. And he's lucky that she was so socially resilient and determined to win these people over. Because
seriously,
you put me at that basketball game and I'm going home. I'm not doing that.
I wasn't playing any of those games, right? Just because I like a good challenge, I might have tried for a little bit because I'm ridiculous. But hell no, right? Like, the love of a person and the relationship of a person, unless he is going to walk away from his family, which I don't think he's going to do, or from the temple, which I would never want them to do, this is pretty undoable for her as is.
Yeah. Let's go back to some good things about Noah, because I do love Adam Brody and he is quite wonderful. Here's a good thing about him.
Yes, let's talk about it.
If we put them in the vacuum of their relationship and we remove all of the external things that are problematic, which is so realistic to do, he is so not reactive to all of her stuff.
Yes.
And you can just see how if it was somebody else who, when she came clean, actually I looked through the box of all of Rebecca's stuff, even though I said I wouldn't. You could see a partner blowing up at that and being like, I can't trust you anymore. You lied to me. What's wrong with you? Like, you could see them going down a path of anger and accusation and then this becoming a huge fight and conflict. But he was understanding. Like, he really accepted her flaws, and maybe it's because her apologies were genuine and he could see her authenticity. But every time I saw him be calm and understanding, it was like, oh, God, yes, more of that in all of our relationships.
In all of our relationships, in all of our TV shows, in all of our movies, more of that, where people are understanding and not reactive.
Emotional safety. You can't tell someone something if you think that they're going to freak out at you every time. If you know that they'll be calm and they'll understand and listen, even if they'll have feelings about it and want to talk about it more. If you don't know that, you're not going to say anything to them. And that's how vulnerability gets lost.
It is. And it's also how vulnerability stops happening. Just as we just keep hiding. We just keep holding things back. And then we're now holding so many things back that we can't tell this because then we'd have to talk about that or that. And none of that's ever going to create relationships. So no, I think internally in the relationship, Noah's amazing. I think externally outside the relationship, he had a lot of work to do and a lot of things to figure out for himself.
Yeah, questions he needs to ask
Yes.
and answer for himself.
100%.
Absolutely. I have another question for you.
Yes.
Have you ever found and gone through an Xbox?
Let me say it like this.
Yes.
I can't off the top of my head say that I have ever found like a box of ex's stuff. I will say I have inappropriately snooped in places that I shouldn't have when I was with boyfriends, right? Where I'm like, oh,
What places? Like closets?
just like, what kind of underwear do they have? Or what's in their side desk? I'm just interested to know what's in here. Not out of
Okay.
control. I'm not going through their phone or
Frenzied.
anything. But I'm just like, oh, they're in the shower? What's this? I'm not going to pretend I didn't do that. That would be lying.
No.
Have you?
Of course I have.
Good.
I'm a
All right.
human. Of course I have. When I was young, I really wasn't my best self. And I'm thinking of like a picture of the guy I was seeing in his ex
Right.
that he probably forgot was there, but I felt like he knew and was hiding it so he could
Right.
look back at it every day and reminisce about being with her. Crazy stuff. Um,
The crazy stuff
Real
that happens.
crazy.
The crazy stuff. Rather than talking to the people, rather than having conversations,
Addressing
rather
it.
than asking.
Yeah.
I've done all the crazy stuff too so that I wouldn't have to have uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And as we know,
Yeah.
that is helpful to no one.
But how good does it feel to be like self-righteously wounded? When you're young, that feels so gratifying, even though it's so unproductive.
And everybody, just so you know, that's part of the power struggle. When we kind of love when somebody messes up, that's a part of the power struggle. And man, once a power struggle starts, it's hard to get out of.
Yes.
Absolutely. But one of the things that I will say for also best love lessons is just how real her anxiety was of having that relationship in her head. That whole like after they kissed, wow, that kiss again. I was just like, damn, Adam Brody, I don't know if I knew you had that in you. And holy shit. But after that kiss, and she sent the text of, wow, that was some kiss. And then I think I'm pregnant, which I laughed at, which I thought was really funny. But then she's showing her sister and then her mom, who's just spacey, then overthinking it totally and basically just making 1,000 assumptions in her head. And I'm like, I know I've done that. I know virtually every single person I know out there or woman who's dating has done this. I hope we can learn from it. Because she then realized later, because she was like virtually going to kick him to the curb. Okay, well, this is over.
Forget
Obviously,
it. He doesn't get my humor.
I just had the best kiss of my life. Oh, wait, I haven't heard from him in 3 hours. I'm out. Instead of he finds out his ex actually just hurt her wrist, right? But
Yeah.
I think we should talk about Rebecca. And
Can we talk about Rebecca?
Please, let's talk about Rebecca. Rebecca is Noah's ex. And in the very first scene that we see, Noah and Rebecca are obviously dating. She comes in the room, his brother is there, and all of a sudden, she's showing her hand and there is an engagement ring on it. Now, we don't know a ton before the scene happens, so I'm not sure that this is his girlfriend or whatever, but he's surprised. And what we find out is Rebecca went looking, basically. It was just like in a safe after a code that I found. She found the ring that he was going to propose and just decided to start wearing it.
Which is bizarre. In what
As my
world?
friend, Dr. Izzy, says, it's ineffective.
It's
right?
ineffective.
How is that going to help her? What should they do instead? To me, have the conversation. I feel like we're at a place where we need to be talking more about marriage or taking this next step. And what does that look like for you? And what does that feel like for you?
Then
Just-
holding you back?
Exactly. That's what should have happened. Finding the ring and then wearing it and just being like, oh, we're kind of engaged, I guess.
But this is a huge sort of delusional leap for me, right? Because
It's a
what you
hijack, right?
What
Yeah.
you described, best case scenario. Second best case scenario is she snoops, finds the ring, chills out, and realizes he's about to propose and waits for it. Third is find the ring, ask him about the ring that you snooped and found. And it's a long way to option number 4, which is find and wear the ring without addressing it and assume that he assumes that you're engaged. What?
I'm just so tired of the non-communication. And I guess that's where the humor is, but I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
honey, you
No.
know, and we talked about maybe him not feeling the connection or him not feeling as close to her or whatever it is. But that kind of behavior is absolutely manipulative, unhealthy, and not okay.
Yeah.
And
An invasion of privacy.
right, and somebody should have a reaction to that. There should be at least a major conversation of, why did that feel okay to you?
How did that feel like? And then to talk to his mom about it and start
Oh my
making
goodness.
plans. And I'll point this out. He says, that was my part. And I've heard a lot of men say that getting engaged is their part of this. They make the plan, they find the ring, and it's the story they get to tell of like how they showed their love and asked someone to marry them. It's an important experience for them. And she just took that all away and took that away from herself too, which is just a bizarre choice if you've been excited for it and waiting for it. But who knows, right? Maybe this has been 3 years of them talking about getting engaged, and she's been sad and waiting,
Right.
and he's been promising that maybe
Right.
there's got to be a backstory to make this make sense to us, but it was so weird.
But what I want to tell people out there, because I think that there's a couple times that different things that Joanne does, women are like, oh yeah, I get that. And we get that because we're so fucking afraid to just ask questions. We
Yeah.
get that because we're just not willing to have awkward conversations about where our partner is at so we can put ourselves at rest. We think other people's feelings and being comfortable is more important than our own. And that's just is going to tank that relationship. Love can't grow in that place. And I see it happening all of the time. And it's ineffective, unhelpful, and we can do better. All I really want my singles to do is be real, have real conversations, find out who that person is and what they're about and vice versa. And then you can decide if you want to move forward. But we do a lot of tiptoeing. We don't talk about things. We don't ask questions. We're scared to bring up what we're actually looking for. And then we end up 6 months, a year or more later and going, well, that one didn't work again, without really acknowledging that probably within the first 2 or 3 dates, you could have had some weirder
Important
conversations that would have told you what you needed to know.
Yeah.
I'm not into men being a scared bunny, scared of love and relationships anymore. If they can't fucking figure it out, then that's not who you should be with.
Yeah. But it's the fear of being needy. How needy to bring up getting engaged again and talk about when it's going to happen and how you're feeling about not moving forward. So much better to just
Right.
snoop, find a ring, wear it, and avoid feeling needy, right? That doesn't work. And you know
Doesn't
what?
work.
People are needy. People have emotional needs. They have
It's-
relational needs.
It's real.
What's wrong with that? Yes. But
And if you're dating somebody who doesn't think that you, or in a relationship that you are allowed to have emotional needs, you really need to question that relationship. I'm just
Run.
gonna say that.
besides this one scene, I think Rebecca is actually pretty great. She is a good model for how to handle a breakup. She's been with this man for years. She's integrated into his family, into his community. There's a sudden, abrupt ending, and a new person enters his life right away who basically takes her place.
Right.
And she is not acting out. I'm sure she's looking her up and she's still talking to his mom and stuff, but that's not crazy stuff. Yes, she lies to Morgan, but Morgan lied first, and she was being a
Right.
bad
Morgan's
actor
ridiculous.
first. I give Rebecca a full pass on that. And when Joanne confronts Rebecca, also leave Rebecca alone, by the way. This is probably like one of the worst days of her life, is to see you with her ex having a great time, saying you're converting. This is not an easy situation for her to be in. So leave her
Absolutely.
alone. But Rebecca is reasonable in response and shows a lot of grace.
I can only imagine what she's going through, right? To really think that somebody was going to be my future and it didn't work out. As we've talked about recently, like the grieving and the mourning process of that. And for her to see him right away kind of start dating somebody,
Happiest he's ever been.
happiest he's ever been. I'm sorry, but that is so hard. That is so hard. But it was not Joanne's job to go after Rebecca. It was Noah's once again. And
Yeah.
that's so ridiculous. Why are we all caretaking Noah? Why are we caretaking these guys? They can have the tough conversations themselves.
Especially Noah.
Yeah, because he's amazing with Joanne. So why would we not think that he couldn't have an amazing conversation with Rebecca? I don't understand why the women keep having to fix the situation or have this whole underlying current about the relationship that has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
It wasn't Joanne's job to go after Bina. It wasn't her job to go after Rebecca. It wasn't her job to win Esther over, who was...
And not this soon. It's also, give it a minute. This is a hard community to crack into. Maybe give it some time.
For sure. A little bit about the episode and what I have seen come up 1,000 times in my life and with my clients, which is the Ick Factor, which is you really like somebody a lot, and then something weird happens that makes you... It's like the filter comes off.
And you see them for who they are.
And you see them for who they are. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that person's dressed weird or awkward, or, oh, wow, I didn't notice. And then we saw that it was going to basically take this relationship down after she has been in this, excited about it, all about it, up until this moment. What did you think about this episode?
I thought it was fascinating. I think we all know the feeling of the ick factor. It just happens. You get it with everyone in your life. And it's, like you said, filters come off. You are in a daze, a love daze when you first are with somebody, and nothing they do is wrong. But that bubble bursts eventually. And for people to take an ick moment as an ending opportunity is a big leap in my mind. If you're with somebody for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you're going to have to tolerate a lot of ick moments. Don't you think?
Absolutely. 100%. My husband was wearing white socks up to his thigh, shorts, and black shoes this morning. And I looked at him and I'm like, honey, you are not like that. He's, are you commenting my clothes right now? I'm like, nope, never mind. Because we had the conversation recently where he's like, do I ever comment anything besides how beautiful you look? And I'm like, nope. And he's, then why are you judging my clothes? And I'm like, good point.
Fair point.
Took it back. And I was like, looking good, you be you. Doesn't matter. But yeah, of course, everybody's going to do something sometimes weird or quirky or
unattractive.
Yeah. However, the fact that she thought bringing flowers and wanting to impress her parents is unattractive was... I don't know if it's my Midwestern nice, but that was weird to me, because if somebody found out they're going to meet the parents, first of all, I would never throw somebody in that situation, right? But was going to meet the parents and then wanted to leave to look a little bit better and go get flowers, I would be honored. I would be so excited. Oh my gosh, this guy's great. They absolutely care. And that's the hard thing is when we haven't had people care, it feels weird. It feels wrong. It feels like there's something too much, right? I want to talk a little bit about the real story. And Erin, who is the woman who this is based on, and her husband, Simon. So the Ick episode is when Simon meets Erin's mom for the first time, and he brought a large bouquet of sunflowers to the restaurant where they were meeting. And she said that the flowers were so long and they kept falling over. And sitting there, I was like, well, if somebody cares this much, that feels like a weakness. That's what Erin Foster, who wrote this, said. And then Simon, who is her real husband, didn't let the sunflower incident end their relationship. Simon was like, get over it. I'm supposed to care what your parents think because I want to marry you. And she said she was so in love with him in that moment. And he recalled, I just love this, I personally don't remember thinking the sunflowers being that big, but I do remember driving home and thinking, this isn't about the flowers. And I loved that because it wasn't about the flowers. Yeah. All of a sudden, there was a crazy vulnerable moment. The guy that she likes and she's nervous about how much she likes is meeting her parents and her dad's new boyfriend. And there's all of these feelings and emotions and everything else. That vulnerability, I think, is what created that Ick Factor. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about flowers. It wasn't about what he did. And we confuse it. And the funny thing is, like Erin said, when they wrote this in the writing room, all the guys were like, I don't get it. What's wrong with a guy bringing flowers? And all the women were like, I get it. But why do we get it? But why do we get it?
This is how women reinforce toxic masculinity.
Yes!
And how we don't let it be okay. Men are allowed to be vulnerable and to be nervous and to do too much, whatever that means for people, to like put an effort and to try to make a good impression and to see that as weakness or not masculine or unattractive. That's us doing
Check
the wrong
yourself,
thing for
man.
men.
Check yourself before you
Yes.
wreck yourself, because that doesn't make sense. I am so annoyed by women who are like, I'm feminist and I'm looking for a partner, but then I want men who do this, 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 and this, and this. And they better pay for the date, and they better do this, and they better.
You
I'm
better
like,
not cry.
right. Then you're not looking for a partner. You're looking for a pretend fictional character that doesn't exist, and good luck.
Anyone but you. That's who you're looking for, that guy.
Yep.
Good
Yep.
luck.
Good luck with that shit, because it's not good. I don't know why we don't see the vulnerability as what builds our intimacy and connection. And I've heard clients say that, but I don't want to see my boyfriend cry. And I'm like, oh, good. So he only gets to have the good emotions. Good for you.
Oh my God. Or anger. Men are allowed anger that we have tolerated from them. And this is the problem, though, is like there is an undeniable human need to be seen, understood, and accepted. And if we don't let men be seen and understood and accepted for these parts of them, which are human parts, that everybody has these emotions and insecurities, we're basically saying, no, you don't get to have that human need met. You don't get to be loved and accepted for who you are because it's just not masculine enough. And that's awful.
And I see it. I mean, I unfortunately read the comments enough on social media posts that, there'll be 20 like, good for you. And then somebody's like, would real men enter the room? Or, and by the way, it's from women. It's from women who are writing that. Like, it's not other guys. Like,
This is why
not.
I can't be on social media. Stuff like that. It's just depresses me.
Stay away. Stay away. Sometimes I read the comments because the comments are so funny, but then you just get in there and you're like, Kira, why did I do it? Why did I do it? I do need to talk also about boundaries with your family. We talked about how Noah should have really stood up for her. Joanne could have done a better job with her sister and everything else. But there was just a lot of people weighing in on a relationship that shouldn't have been weighing in. And her sister and her really egg each other on.
Can we just say that they're enmeshed? This is too close.
Yes. Could you explain for people, being the therapist you are, what enmeshed means?
Enmeshed essentially means boundaryless, where there is no differentiation between me and you, and you feel like you get to say and ask anything of me and vice versa, and our thoughts and feelings have to be shared and communal, and it's just not, there's not enough individuation. It's not healthy. And that's them, and their closeness is cute and fun and great for their podcast, but they aren't able to separate back out. And when Joanne does, we see Morgan really react negatively to that.
Right. They were mean to each other in a way that I would never want a sister or even just another person to be mean to me.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part about family, because they know you so well, they know where to pick.
Yeah.
They know where to push your buttons. Seeing her worries and anxiety come up and then seeing Morgan play more even into it, I'm just like, we have to be careful who hears about who we're dating and our stories and what's going on, because not everybody is helpful and not everybody's giving you good feedback or information. It's coming from their own fears and their own projections. And some of the things they said to each other, I was like, whoa.
How do you forgive that? I know. I can't imagine getting over some of the things they say to each other. But it's also a good lesson in being mindful of who you tell what. And they do a podcast and they disclose everything to each other and to the world. So it's a little bit different. But if you tell everyone in your life all the details of your budding relationship, everyone in your life might have an opinion. You'll have to figure out what you're going to do with that. It's okay to keep some things to yourself and just navigate how you're feeling and what you want to do with a select few people or on your own. And Joanne says everything.
Not everybody should get to hear your stories. Not everybody deserves that or is going to use that for good, right? So when we tell people who we don't trust yet, who we don't know yet, and we tell them things, as Joanne loves to do, because this is the former Kira, like she loves to test. She wants people to prove how much they like her. She wants them to have to prove that they can handle her. Oh, and her whole like, let's just say something that we're really embarrassed about. I'm like, don't do that. You don't know each other yet. It worked out well because this is a TV show with 2 stars that we really like. But I used to get drunk and have like deep ass conversations, particularly with cute guys from other places. And it burned my ass many times.
You can dive too deep.
Let me tell you, there was a guy, real name Dave, British, casino, worked on ships with me. I had a crush on him. There was just a really great witty banter. And it was more like we knew we were going to make out, but it was like we just didn't get the same night off. I was waiting for him to be in the OB, the officer's bar, one night. And he comes in, he has a night off. I have the night off. And I'm like, we are in here. So I go up, buy him a drink, and said, I have a game for us to play. And he's, ooh, I love a game.
No,
and I'm like,
he didn't say that. He said, oh, I love a game, Kira.
Yes.
What is it?
Oh,
Righto.
no, that accent was quite a thing there. And I just said to him, and I said, we are going to sit here, get to know each other, tell each other our deepest, darkest secrets, and drink and see where the night goes. Worst idea ever. At the end of the night, he had told me some
Everyone's crying.
crazy things. And by the time of the end of the night, I just sat there and was like, oh no.
God.
Oh no. Because I knew all of these weird things about him now, and he knew these weird things about me, and we didn't know each other, right?
Yeah.
So we couldn't laugh about it or think it was funny or know him well
Kira?
enough. It was terrible. It never worked out. It like tanked it.
Oh.
We barely made eye contact ever again. And
Fell flat.
fell absolutely flat.
Well,
I wish we would have just made out. You know what I mean? That would have
yeah.
been a much nicer memory. Because at the end of it, both of us were like deer in headlights. This did not
We
go.
know too much. Too exposed.
Too exposed.
Yeah.
Too much vulnerability. Too soon. With no boundaries.
Yeah.
And oh man, not my best moment, man. Not my best moment. I learned the hard way to never do that again.
I love
Whoosh.
that. I love that.
Let's talk about favorite moments and quotes.
Oh my God. Here's my absolute favorite moment from this whole show, which might surprise you because it's pretty random, I think. When Joanne goes to his family for lunch,
Right.
and they're talking afterwards, and she's discovered Bina eating the prosciutto,
Right.
and it gets called out, and she has to say that she ate the prosciutto out of the trash like a raccoon. I died. I don't know why. I thought it was just so well delivered, and raccoons are just adorable. Everything just worked.
Kristen Bell nailed this role, nailed the humor in this role that was like pretty little deep and dark and sarcastic and made it light and funny. But yeah, the fact that she caught Bina eating the prosciutto and then was like, this is going to be in my pocket if I take the credit for this, right? And just a raccoon took it out of the trash. Oh my God, that was hilarious.
What did you like?
I think that panties got wet across the globe when Noah said to Joanne, you can self-sabotage all you want, but I think you should get over it because, Joanne, I'm on your side and I can handle you. Every anxious woman I know was like, oh my God, he can handle I think that's what we worry about. Can this person handle all of me? Not just my smiley, wonderful parts, but, you know, my PMS, all the things and all the people we are. We get really scared that people won't want all of us, not just the shiny parts. And so I just think when he said, I can handle you.
That was great.
I just think people are like.
Here's the edit I will make. Every pursuer, if we think about the two roles in conflict as pursue, withdraw, every pursuer was like, yes, please. I want someone who can handle everything and take me as I am. And every withdrawer, which is what I tend to be, it was like, yeah, good. I'll keep all of my stuff to myself and make it easy for you. So you should be able to handle me. Can I handle you is really the question. That's what I have to figure out. But it's nice to know that someone is willing to be there through whatever it is you're going to put them through, if it's a lot or if it's not enough, because they like you when they're willing to do that work with you.
Absolutely. That's so interesting because I am anxious. I am like the pursuer. You are not.
With Char.
We are
Mhm.
opposite. So it is really
We
interesting.
get
I
along.
mean, I looked at it and I was like, oh, women are going to love this. But anxious women, pursuers are going to love that.
Many.
You're absolutely
yeah.
right. Yes. You are absolutely right. Did we have any favorite characters?
I liked Rebecca. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow. Wow. This is like
know.
your Lord, what's his name? Debly?
Debling.
Debling.
Debling, Kira.
Sorry. It's
Good
like your Lord Debling.
God. I liked, obviously, Noah and Joanne, but I also liked
Right.
Esther. She's bitchy. I'm scared of her, but I like her vibe. I don't know. I enjoyed her. She's not nice, but she's herself.
The only thing I have to say, so I like Jackie. I think her name is, I want to say Tone,
Tone.
T-O-H or something like
Mhm.
that. I like her. I think she was in Glow. She's been in some other things. She's a lot of fun. However, yes, Esther scared me 100%, just as she scared you. But I also think it's realistic that if Rebecca's one of her best friends, she's going to need some time.
Yeah.
Right?
Give
Everybody's
her a
going to need
minute.
some time here to mourn this kind of future that they thought was happening that's not happening.
Yeah.
And Noah, to be fair, didn't really give anybody that time whatsoever. He just brought people in right away. But I just thought the characters were really fun. I don't think I liked the siblings as much as you did. I thought that Sasha was
Bumbling.
unhelpful and ridiculous and a little bit of a weird victim by his own creation. And I thought that Morgan was just, they came together at the end, but I think she was really harsh, really mean, very cutting.
And also had no life that we saw outside of being obsessed with her sister's relationship in their podcast. Underdeveloped in important ways, I think.
But Stephanie Pharisee, I don't think you even know who that is. So who played their mom? She was like big in the 80s. I have barely seen her since. So when she showed up, I was like, shut the fuck up. Shut the front door. Did Stephanie Pharisee just show up? That's cool. But I thought everybody was like perfectly cast. I thought this was super well written, super well acted. But yeah, I thought all the characters were pretty fantastic, actually. I also think that everybody needs a condom friend. Like his friend who showed up with all the kind of
What was that? They're not illegal. You can just go buy a bunch. You can Amazon that. That was bizarre. I forgot about that part.
Who wrote that in going, this is a really good scene? I don't know.
This makes a lot of sense.
Well, I have a ton of fun facts and trivia because this just came out. There's a ton of people talking about it. And there's also like Adam Brody and Kristen Bell have known each other for 20 years.
Yeah.
So they've been running around. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Hollywood incestuousness of this. So Adam Brody's wife is Leighton Meester, who was on Gossip Girl.
Lucky bitch.
And then Kristen Bell was on Veronica Mars. So first of all, Leighton Meester was on Veronica Mars for a few episodes.
Was
and
she?
she was sleeping with her teacher, who was played by Adam Scott. And then, I know, which is great. And then Ryan Hansen was in this. I was going to mention, because I love that he shows up in a lot of Kristen Bell's. They're good friends in real life. He was from Veronica Mars. And he played her hookup in this, and he's wearing a Karma Rocket shirt, which is his band from Party Down, who he's on with Adam Scott. And Kristen Bell played Adam Scott's girlfriend on Party Down. And Kristen Bell played the narrator Gossip Girl on Gossip Girl. So this is a weird early 2000s.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was just, I'm like, I could keep going, but they're intertwined now in 1,000 ways. It was originally titled Shiksa. So that was the original name. So a couple of other things, like first of all, they added in some drama. She said that his family didn't hate her, but they were skeptical at first because he's bringing around somebody who is not Jewish and they're deeply practicing. And she also said, I'm obsessed with my husband. He's the best decision I ever made. He's my muse. And this show is like a love letter to him. I'm like, that's like the best thing I ever heard. I hope this wins all the awards. I hope that we get a second season. She does convert and get married, by the way. They've just had a kid about 5 months ago in real life. So I wonder if they're going to bring back another season. But I will watch Adam Brody and Kristen Bell witty banter and make out
sign me up
all the time. Sign me up. This is what I want our future to be like. for this genre is
Yeah.
real ass awesome relationships. And that was here. And we nitpick like what people do because we want people to learn from it. But fuck, I loved this.
This is
I
gold.
loved this. I will
Yeah.
love this till the day I die. Like, this was so well done, so well written, so everything that I'm in. Do you have any rewrites or alternate endings?
Well, I like your rewrite. Maybe you should start with what
Yes.
you said.
I said they just need to slow the fuck down
Yeah.
and make this decision together. The fact that the
Yeah.
last scene, he basically is saying, I don't know how this works, but I'm basically choosing you. I'm like, none of this is bad. You guys have just approached this very quickly and very intensely.
Yes.
So first of all, I will say it's a little piss poor of Noah because she mentioned multiple times, like, you're
I'm not
Jewish.
Jewish.
I'm not
Yeah.
Jewish. Like, should we even be doing this? And he's the one who pursued her. Like,
Yes.
we can just be friends, even though there was obviously chemistry there. So
asked her
I
out.
don't
Mhm.
think he was that thoughtful about it, considering he's the one with that deal breaker. It's not her. And I just think that she may be open to the religion, but she barely knows anything because you've basically showed her 3 things. This should be a major conversation. She should fully understand what the religion is and the benefits and all the things. So her kind of saying, I'm not there, that makes total sense. This is a major
Yeah.
commitment to make for another person and for a relationship. So I just wanted them to slow down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that they
he-
could like really see if this could go somewhere.
And for him too, I feel like he's just thinking sort of, I can have it all, which she says to him, no, you can, right? But he's like, this is
Right.
great. I'm getting a head rabbi position. You're willing to convert, like, done deal. It's like,
Right.
whoa, wait a minute now. Everyone in your life hates her, is against this idea.
Right.
Apparently, if she missteps, which she definitely will, because she wasn't
For
raised
sure.
Jewish, she's not going to know all the things to do and not do. Everybody's going to judge you and her and your relationship for it. Like,
Right.
you have not thought this through, sir. And I want you to have it all, but you need to be a little more thoughtful in how you're pursuing this.
That's the only thing I have to say is so much of this was good. And so much of this was they talked through things, they worked through things. We saw real moments and the conflict and repair. I loved it all, but just slow down.
Take a breather.
Nobody needs to know in 3 days if she's going to convert. Take a few weeks at least and have real conversations.
Yeah.
And one of the things I liked behind the scenes is she took an 8-week course about becoming Jewish. He took it with her. They did it together.
Oh.
And so I actually just love this because it made them step back and ask real questions that I think a lot of couples don't ask
Yeah.
until they're already married or much
Yeah.
later. And then they're like, oh, wow, have I married somebody who's not a good match for me?
Do you remember this in Sex and the City when Charlotte converts? Because
I do.
Harry, want to say? And
It's
it was a
Harry.
similar,
I love
similar
Harry.
thing. He's like, well, actually, this is a deal breaker. I didn't tell you about it first, and so we can't be together. And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She converts. He doesn't propose right away. And then she stays involved in the Jewish community, and eventually they make their way back around. Hopefully that's not a spoiler. That show's been out for a long time. Anybody listening to this.
If you haven't
That's
watched
on
Sex and the
you.
City, that's on you. Yeah.
But it's the same thing of the sort of casual expectation that it will be figured out by the other person doing a ton of work
Oh.
and making a big change and not taking that responsibility on themselves too.
Yeah, such a great thought, but it just needs to be part of a conversation so both
Mhm.
people can figure it out. And
Yeah.
the next question is, do we think they would last?
I like your answer. I'm biased because I love them both. So I want to say yes. I think they have the potential. They have the foundational skills and connection, right? But there's obviously a huge roadblock they have to overcome.
They have to talk about what they actually want. We see Joanne being such a train wreck in relationships for so long that when something good comes, she's just willing to put her whole life aside to keep it. And that's not good either. Like when her sister's like, you're throwing away different parts of your life for this guy, that does happen. We have to be thoughtful about it. But they need to sit down and talk about not only religion, but religion really is based in values. And do you have
Mhm.
similar values? Do you want the same things moving forward? And if we're going to have these families, how do we actually do this? Like the fact that Esther just feels bad every time that she goes over to her
Yeah.
in-laws' house. Like, that's not good either, Sasha.
It's
Get
not.
it together.
And they haven't even talked about kids or anything. I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions.
There's a lot of unanswered questions. So I would love to think so because I love their chemistry. And I thought, like I said, internally they were great. But they got some shit to work out first.
Mm-hmm.
But what are our ratings?
I'm looking at our...
I know.
We're in love.
We're in love.
Fives.
5 and 5s. Fives across the board.
What are we
I
going to
thought
do?
this was smart and fantastic and well acted and just more.
Good
I
lessons.
I hope there's a season 2. As I mentioned,
too.
Aaron Foster, who created this, did end up getting married and converting. So I wonder if they will maybe make that like a season 2 or something, because I would be surprised if they didn't run away with the success of this.
I think they will. And I'm sure they'll listen to this podcast episode and do a little more work on Noah. I'm sure he's going to show up in season 2 and do some of the important boundary setting and have some important conversations. And it's going to be fantastic.
What are our final positive takeaways from this?
Oh, mine is that vulnerability always wins. You can't guarantee how the other person is going to respond, if they're going to be kind and receptive, but you just have to choose the risk to be honest and to share what you are feeling and what you're afraid of. And that's what will make a relationship strong. What about you?
I loved that takeaway for you. And this isn't necessarily a positive takeaway, but I do have to just say this as a reminder. It is your job to protect your partner and set them up for success in your life, your job, your family, your friends, everything. Yeah. And we don't talk about that enough. We throw our potential people to the wolves and see if they float or sink. And that is not helpful and not smart and doesn't get you love.
What kind of wolves are you hanging out with that are in the ocean?
Special ones. Very special ones.
All right, everyone, that's it for today. If you liked this, subscribe or follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on your favorite podcast platform.
And if you loved it, and we sure hope you did, please leave a review. It helps us get the word out about this podcast to the world. You can also get resources and show notes at romcomrescue.com.
Join us next week for 2024 rom-com Fly Me to the Moon with Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum, currently streaming online. Until next week, create your own happily ever after. Go find a hot rabbi.
Yeah, yes.
And go be a Matzah Baller.
Yeah, go be that. The Matzah Ballers, that was one of my favorite parts. Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Oh my God.